Okay, on the bench today we have Smiger, and the first thing I'm going to look at is what's under the back cover. Single ply, very thin, very thin, and that's okay. All it has to do is cover that. Now, the dirt inside of buffing cream. Standard for pretty much most of the stuff we find coming out of China. The claw is almost even. The springs are holding really tight. That's good. I like it tight. Wow. There's some really, that's probably not going to be very easy to see, but oh yeah, there it is. Right in there, down in the corner. There's quite a lot of deep crusty stuff. The finish is really nice on this body. The routing is very good compared to some we've seen. Okay, I guess we're gonna I guess I can detune it. Whoa, I forgot about those sharp edges. Wow, they're like knives. I guess we can detune it. Just get a little bit higher. Some tension off of there, and then I can cut them off. Cut them about here. Some people say, well, those are perfectly good strings, and actually the strings on here were pretty good. No corrosion. I mean, look, this is really shaky, all of them. I can turn all the nuts by hand, I'm sure. Let's check the screws on the back of the headstock. Over time, even if you had snugged it up, the metal pulling on the wood always gives a little bit because it's harder into softer. But yeah, they're all loose in the hole. So since they were doing a pretty good job to begin with, okay. Okay, so the posts are still a little bit floppy, but as long as the tuners are responsive, and these are pretty responsive. Alright, the buttons, let's do the buttons. Alright, these are not the worst tuners I've ever had. But they have that little bit of a floppiness like I just had with the Kramer. And up and down just about the same amount the Kramers were doing, which means that that little spring flat washer that was missing on the Kramers tuners, the cache, these are missing that same little spring flat washer, and then they would have been rock solid. I mean, those little spring washers, I mean, they must be able to get thousands of them for pennies. I don't know why they just don't use them. Now, the nut is specifically cut poorly, and it's black. So it's going to be extremely hard to see in the light, I think. And that's true, but okay, right there you can see on the north side of that, there's debris coming out of there. I'll take a macro shot if I can here. Okay. Now we'll get to the part where we will dismount the neck. Let's see how tight the pocket is. Not tight. Not snug tight anyway. Oh, there's a shim. A really bad shim. That is not nice at all. And on top of that, I'll save that to measure. On top of that, you know, when they screwed it in, they left all of that crud like that on the back of it. They just, yeah, fast manufacturing. Seen it before. There's going to be a picture of this little finish problem at the back here as well of the neck, where it's 1, 2, 3 pips and sort of a lambda symbol in it. I'll have to fix that. The end of the neck has been shaved down after the finish was applied. The end of the fretboard, which is technical wood, has been left flat and square. It could have been a little bit nicer as well. So yes, there's neck work to be done, especially the fret ends. Whew. So this will all be cleaned up. I'm really curious about the nut. Because it looks a lot higher than my standard fender nuts are, even though the cut is very, very low in there. I'm really curious about that. There we go. Looks like it was only glued on the treble side, but there's quite a lot of it in there. I hadn't planned on doing this part, except for removing the strings, until after I got the neck done. Oh no, yes, I remember now. There was a problem with the string balls being stuck in that bridge. Another issue I forgot about. They're all stuck, and that's why they pulled up hard when I was tuning, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. But they stuck them in there. They didn't tighten them up, and they just left them. The wall of that bridge is so thin. I'm going to have to do a measurement with drill bits to see if I can just maybe open it a tiny bit, because the ball ends on strings are usually all about a standard. And getting these out of there now might just be a little problematic. With the stronger strings, oh geez. Well guys, doesn't look like I'm going to get them out anytime soon, so I'm going to try to work around it for now. I want to leave some length on them at the top here. And I'll go under the hood first, because I think I'm going to have to remove the bridge and see if I can get those things out afterwards. Alright, let's go for the pick guard. Ooh! These are the worst wires I've seen on a guitar in quite a while. The insulation, the gauge is very, very light. I mean, it works, because you know, but wow. When it comes to inexpensive wire, yeah, that's some of it. Very, very thin, standard box switch. I wanted to see what was going on with these screws. They may be too small for the hole. Pretty good magnet on the back though. It's not too bad. Sometimes I can get these magnets to double up if I have the depth, and that sometimes changes what I can get from them. The main reason why I save these off of magnets, I should say pickups that I turf. Okay, so inside the body there's also a lot of remnants of white powders everywhere. And you know, that stuff is really hard to get off because it's sticky. Yeah, it takes a lot of cleaning, but you know, they did a really good spray job inside there. The routing is good. It's a swimming pool routing, so there's no problem with what you could put on here. You could put, you know, all humbuckers if you wanted to. It's not rough. Well, very rough. There's a couple of patches, but it's smooth everywhere, and that'll make it easier to clean, because when it's really rough in there, it's virtually impossible to clean out. So not that the dirt in there is going to make any difference, but you know. And they didn't do a very good buffing job under the area where the pick guard was sitting on. You know, I see a lot of manufacturers buffing bodies before anything's mounted. But it's been my experience that most of the ones I get, I think bar one or two, it seems like the pickguard was mounted prior to them doing the final buffing on the body, thereby leaving the area under the pickguard unbuffed. And that's the view under the hood. So we're going to terminate this for now. I'm going to have to disconnect the wires to be able to get the pickguard off, so I can get the bridge out and try to figure out what I'm going to do with the ball ends that are stuck, and how to make sure they're not stuck in the future if I can manage it. Okay, so here's the bridge report. 3/16 inch bit would go in the mouth, but wouldn't go all the way down to the shelf. And all I had to do was basically drill it all the way down to the shelf in each one of the holes, and that has removed a little bit of this aluminum white metal type casting, and allows the balls to go in and out smoothly. While I was here, I also just chamfered the edge of these holes where the strings come through on the top to make it a smoother transition as they come over, and not be so sharp. Sometimes that's so sharp there that it cuts and breaks strings, especially on the E, sometimes on the B. So this part is done. Solved the problem. I had to actually take a fine finishing nail to drive it down through the top to be able to knock the ball out the bottom. It's neck day, guys. I am going to have to smooth off this edge as well, give it a little bit of a slope. I noticed that the strings as they came over the nut were touching here on the base side. So this is going to be a bit of a long day, I think, with a lot of detailed work here on the neck. These razor edge frets, which I'll also try to put a shot up for you, are really, oh, can you hear that? Yeah, that's how much sharpness there is on the edge. Usually it's much smoother than that, but they're actually sprouting over in some cases, and there's actually little sprouts of just on the edge of the frets that are hanging over. Very uneven, very badly done actually. I'll try to make it better. This one here is especially bad. I don't know if you can see that in there, but see how that's up there like that? Yeah. Anyway, I won't bore you with all of it. It's going to just be a lot of filing and getting it as close as I can to where I can actually run my sponge or sandpaper along the edges to smooth it all off and roll the edges. Okay, starting to look good. Got the application of lemon oil on it. I think this is the favorite part of the work that I like, is that it smells like lemon in here. I'm going to let that absorb, and we'll take it from there. Probably let that go overnight. I was able to fix that little pip on the back that I had down here. It's smoothed off now. And it's just a waiting game. Oh crap, I just realized that I jumped ahead cutting the strings off of this thing before I actually checked the nut and see if I could make one work. Well, the good news is that this slot is narrower than my fender nuts. Fender nuts. Okay, so I've wired the pickguard up completely. Something I forgot to do in Kramer, which was to put in these treble bleed circuits. I think I had the capacitors just come in when I drew, and I forgot. I had to order a bunch of these .001s and these 100K resistors. So what I've done on Smiger is I've added a volume for the bridge, and I've kept this one up here for the neck in the middle. So this design is like the Kramer's, except that on the Kramer I made a mistake. I built it to my schematic, but I swapped the inputs and outputs on the volume controls, which is what made the Kramer
not independent volumes like I had expected. This one I got right, and they are independent volumes. I had to use the Cache heavy duty switch, but I bought the second one because, again, this body is routed deep enough for one of these, but not enough material in the bottom of the route out to the back of the body for me to give it a gouge to be able to get in a fender style switch. 22 cap, 500 pot and a 500 pot. I put a 500 for the singles because I wanted to try to get a little bit more of the treble out of them, and 250s tend to kill that. So a couple of tie wraps kept it neat. Should be. I did a test fit. It does fit in the body okay. The pearl on here, I took the plastic off, is super shiny. This is beautiful in person. The camera probably will not capture it as well as it looks, but it is absolutely beautiful. This kind of a gray pearl, and it's ready to go back on the body. Let's see what's going on with the neck. Okay, the neck has turned out really good. Yep, it's nice now. The technical wood has shined up quite a bit with the lemon oil. There are little, it's hard to see, but there are little, like there, see right here? There's little gaps in the technical wood. You'd think if they were making technical wood, see right there, they could have gotten it better.
Okie dokie. All right. It's together. The best thing about this guitar is the beauty of the body. Nothing to do to it. Absolutely nothing except give it a polish. The neck now, you can just kind of feel the rounded ends of the frets. They're just, oh, so smooth. Not the grass cutters that were on there before. So the headstock remains the same. No changes there. There are no string trees on this. Well, I put the whammy bar on just to see what it would do. It kind of stays in place there when you get down to about that position. Alright, so I changed the knobs. I went with a set of just black to match the motif. Back is still open, haven't closed it up yet. Everything else is the same there. Up. Alright, 50, what is it now? 65 Deluxe, that's it. Our basic 65 Deluxe. Alright, so here we go. In the bridge position, it's the same as it always was. 65 Deluxe basic, 2.5 on the amp. So 22 cap works fine. Now in the next position, that is going to be these two. And now that the volumes are not interdependent, they're independent, we can blend this pickup with that one. So basically you can do blending, and you can bring either one of them up and down, whichever way you want to go. Middle pickup, neck pickup, two together. So in these positions you don't seem to lose too much between alone, alone, and together. Quite good. And that has a lot to do with the treble bleed circuits. Alright, so we got the 2 volumes, got our tone. Oh, whammy. So that whammy works for the people who like whammy. So this is all basic clean, there's nothing on there. Let's add my delay. Okay. Reverb. Overdrive. Not a lot of overdrive. Let's add a little vintage overdrive. Alright. So basically it does everything I wanted it to do. I'm very happy with the results. Ooh, this neck is so beautiful now. And yeah, I put the bone nut on there. It's white. Didn't have any black. So we had to use a white one. Yep, it's good now. I spent I'd say a good 9 hours working on the guitar. The neck alone yesterday took me about 4 hours just to get the frets done. Wow, this neck is now feels just like the earth stainless steel ends, the smooth ball ends like that. It feels just like that now. I'm very happy with it. Don't need to change the pickups. They're good. But out of the box, not so good. Smiger, and this one cost me $234 Canadian, so I paid more for this than some of the other guitars that came in with much better necks on them. So if you're going to get a Smiger like this one, be prepared to have to do a lot of net work on it, and the plastic nut was horrendous. You'll have to fix that. Everything else you can just basically leave it as it is if you like. It'll work just fine. The tuners are going to work okay, and everything else is good. My preference was to have the separate volumes, but you don't have to have that. So yeah, a Smiger out of the box, fix all the neck, and snap. Got a pretty good guitar. A model S-G3 Smiger S-G3. Thanks for watching, and hit me to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 this year, and at the 1,000 we might just have a giveaway. So hit the buttons. Take care.